learning languages and hustle culture. So surely learning more hours a day is better than learning fewer hours a day, right? If you learn 5 hours a day, surely this is better than learning 3 hours a day. Or even learning 1 hour a day is better than learning half an hour a day. Well, to this I say it depends. It depends on, for firstly, the activity. I think if you're doing an activity that's really good, then this is where you want to be. But if you're doing an activity that maybe isn't so effective, then you could be spending a lot of time learning without actually learning. For example, I like to listen to Asamil audio in the car when I drive, or I'll listen to an audiobook. But the problem with this is that sometimes I have to focus on the directions. Sometimes there might be some sort of traffic problem I have to deal with. And so during those moments where I'm distracted, I'm not really learning or studying the language as well as I could be. If I were doing an activity like shadowing, where I'm listening to the audio as well as speaking it at the same time, that would engage my mind a lot more. And I think that would be a better learning activity and a better use of study time than just passively listening to the audio. But the other thing that you want to take into consideration is your mind state. Because if your mind state is not in the optimal position, the learning you do isn't going to stick and it's not going to be very good. For example, I would say, let's say you have a goal to study 1 hour a day. And one day you're very busy, so you get to the end of the day and you think to yourself, well, I need to keep up this goal of studying 1 hour a day, but it's already my bedtime and I'm really tired. What should you do? Should you stay up and study the hour to make sure your average is kept at that 1 hour a day? Or should you just go to sleep? In my opinion, you should just go to sleep, because if you're already tired and it's the end of the day, that 1 hour of studying is not going to be very effective because you're so tired already. But the more important thing is, if you stay up an hour later, that means the next day you might be sleep deprived by 1 hour, and therefore all the study time the next day isn't going to be as effective because you won't be as fresh. They've done studies which show that sleep deprived people have reaction times on par with drunk people. So you can imagine how effective would your study session be if you were completely drunk. And then just consider that if you're sleep deprived, that's about where you're at in terms of learning a language. You're probably not going to retain a lot of what you study. And furthermore, you need the sleep to consolidate the learning and the memories that you made during the day. So if you don't get enough sleep during the night, you're not going to be able to remember what you learned. The other thing is that successful people don't work round the clock. Some of the most successful people in terms of working, I know often in hustle culture, we talk about working, 16 hours a day and just working all day, all night. But a lot of the most successful people do other activities. I read that some of these people, they spend hours just talking to girls, or they go for long walks, or they do other activities that just relax them. They don't spend all day just working or studying. And the reason for this is that you need time away from studying in order to relax your mind and to refresh yourself, to rejuvenate yourself. And this is a good idea to tend to your mental health. And it's the reason why sometimes shorter study sessions are better than just one super long study session. For example, it's better to study for, say, 6 half-hour periods or even 3 one-hour periods than it is to study for 1 3-hour period. Now, for those of you who like Anki and spaced repetition systems, The good news is that this is perfectly in line with that, because with the spaced repetition system, it makes sure that you don't review too soon. Because if you review too soon, say you review every hour or every day, you could have gone longer without reviewing, and that would actually help you to retain the memory better. For example, spaced repetition systems show you flashcards based on 1 day later, and if you know it's then 4 days later, 12 days later. I'm making up these numbers, but you get the idea. The time interval gets longer and longer and longer, and this helps to retain the memory over time. So if you are just studying nonstop all day, every day, it doesn't give you that space in order to let the memory decay just far enough that you can revitalize it and make sure the memory sticks for the long term. The other thing is that you want to get into real world use of your language. I see some people just get too obsessed with Anki and crunching Anki flashcards all day, every day for hours and hours and hours. And you want to find ways to use the language in your real life. So for me, one of the ways I do that is I have language conversation partners. Right now, I have 3 language conversation partners in Chinese. And I find that very fulfilling to be able to talk to a native speaker who comes from a different culture and to speak in their native language, to be able to have this cultural exchange. But if you can't find real people in life like I have, you can always use italki. Italki.com is a way where you can find language partners, even tutors, if you're still a beginner. And I think this is especially important because we're social creatures. And I do know some people who study languages who are very, very introverted. I'm thinking of one of my friends who is a girl who just studies and reads nonstop. But I think the interesting thing about her is that even when we talk to each other through text messaging, she still sends me these like page-long messages, pages and pages long messages. I think that shows that even the most introverted person does get a benefit from socialization. And so I think if you just push yourself to socialize or get out there, meet with someone, even though you might not feel 100% comfortable, just try to make a connection in real life. Not only will you improve your language ability and have a real world use of it, but you'll also get your socialization in, which will do wonders for your mental health. The last thing I'll talk about is having achievable goals. I know that there's this trend of all Japanese all the time was the original mention of this, which was this idea that you should just study Japanese or whatever language you're studying all day, all the time, for as many hours as possible. And I do believe that while some people can manage this, I think for most people this is a bit difficult. And if you find yourself studying all day without working yourself up to that level, you're going to burn out. And if you burn out, you're just going to stop completely. And then you won't make any progress. You would have made more progress if you had just done a little bit every day, each and every day for a long period of time. So while it does seem like a good idea to study more hours or to try to force in as many hours in a day as possible, it can actually be counterproductive. And you want to be able to take time to rejuvenate yourself, to relax, to do activities that you enjoy, and to sleep even, so that when you do come back to the language learning activity, you can put in 100% of your focus and you can really learn as much as you possibly can. So I hope that helps. If you made it this far in the video, give me a thumbs up or a like. And if you haven't subscribed already, you might want to consider it because, hey, it's free and you might learn something that improves your language learning ability. Okay, thank you so much and we'll talk again soon.